everybody, Julia Stock, Business Revolutionary with Be Astute, and today we are up to Q in our lovely A to Z of training provider vocab, and for me that requires a qualifying question, so it's a double Q. Who knew? What do we mean by a qualifying question? Well, a question kind of makes sense. Qualifying for most businesses is what we're doing when we meet a lead or a prospect and we are focusing on converting them to be a sale. So there would be two times when we're doing this within a training provider. One is when we are qualifying an employer. So is this employer good enough to work with us? When we're desperate to fill a contract, that bar can be quite low. Do you have a pulse? Do you have some learners? Great. Do you want to say yes? Often what happens in those cases, though, is that later on in the process, we realize that they're not a quality employer. There's a lot of stuff that we haven't covered. They're not particularly committed, and we can struggle to have them get their learners involved. If we had asked more questions at the beginning, if we'd been a little bit fussier, we probably would have saved ourselves a lot of time and effort and misery. Qualifying questions are also incredibly important when we're meeting learners. Again, depends on how desperate we are to fill the contract as to how many questions we ask. Part of your quality assurance needs to be around making sure that no matter how desperate we are for starts, that we still have good learners, or as good learners as possible. When we're being fussy and turning people down, we make life easier for our delivery staff. And for a lot of providers, the people who are out meeting new learners, meeting new employers, doing the sales bit, however you want to describe that, and learner enrollments or inductions, they don't tend to be the same people who are then delivering. And it's one of those constant niggles is tutors being able to go, well, I wouldn't have signed them. What do you expect me to do with that? And sign up people going, well, I'm incentivized to hit that sign up target. So that's the best that came along. You know, what do you want me to do? I'm incentivized to hit this target. You're going to sack me if I don't. How you can manage that on the learner side is by having really good quality assurance prior to the learner starting on the claim. So it's looking at your initial assessment. It's looking at how good your advice and guidance is. Is it truly independent? How heavily incentivized and performance managed are the staff who are doing these learner inductions? There's a trade-off. We want them to be incentivized. We want them to want to maximize the number of people that we're getting signed up. But at the same time, we need to be able to say no to people. And we need to have systems in place so that we can say no to people before we're necessarily saying yes to them. It looks really rubbish if we've gone out, signed a learner, got all the paperwork done, and then 2 weeks later when we're doing the claim, we're going, no, not doing that. That's dreadful in terms of customer service. So we need to be looking at how we're gathering information at initial assessment, what information that we are gathering in order to be able to qualify that learner and get a really good idea around whether or not they're going to be any good or not. Now, if you have a recruitment process, so you are finding learners for employers, you will have already had a lot of interaction with that learner prior to placing them and starting them. Those kind of providers often overqualify, and you can have problems where learners there's not enough stuff to be learned in the apprenticeship that they've signed up to. They're overqualified for it. And you can end up with problems with learners dropping out later because it's just not challenging for them. At the same time, you can be underqualifying and overstretching people, whereby they're like a rabbit in the headlights. We've overfaced them and it's all going horribly wrong. and we lose a lot of time. So there is a Goldilocks sweet spot in the middle of those two extremes. If we are gathering a lot of information between application and sign up, and we are then vetting to make sure we're happy with that information, then we can deal with a lot of these issues. That means that if we are under challenging, we can be going, no, we need to have a conversation about a different course for you to do because it's just not there. If we're over facing, then it allows us to intervene. You know, the number of times I've talked to an employer who's gone, I want this learner to be signed up onto a higher level than the level of job that that learner is doing. That's a key thing that employers don't understand, is that apprenticeships, of course, aren't just based on brain power, they're based on job role. So I can have the brain power to go straight onto the higher level. That doesn't mean that I've got the necessary experience or I'm doing the necessary job for it to be a good plan. And that's where you're looking at how you can support your staff in having those conversations. So qualifying questions are quite important. If you would like support in terms of how to ramp up your initial assessment to really make it work hard for you, please get in touch. We'd love to have a chat with you because that's definitely something that us at the Institute can help you with. Thank you very much.